Gute Woche, Rabbi Sai. Lili Nishmasi Mimaros Rizvas Mordechai. Rabbi Sai, here we go. Hakol Shoichatin Ushchitasang Kshera. So we're going to be talking about Shchita, not so much in the Beis HaMikdash, just general Shchita. This, Rabbi Sai, is the Kana. Kana. We have a trachea and esophagus. How do you say Kana in English? Trachea. This is the windpipe. And it's tough. So if somebody punches you in the neck, you could continue breathing. Because if it was like a muscle, it would collapse. It would be hard. It would be like mushy. This one is the esophagus. This is where the food goes down. And it's flexible. It's like a muscle. So when you're looking at the animal, they're one behind the other. And shchita means they have to cut right through these two pipes. Two simanim it's called, the two pipes. The trachea and take the knife and you go like this. A bird also has both of them, but yeah. You're going to first hit this guy and then you're going to go through this one. And that's what we're learning about, the different halachas. What's bad, what's good, who could do it. Hakol shoichten. Anybody could shecht, even Eitan G. Anybody could shecht. What does that mean, anybody? Even a woman could shecht. Now, a woman it's a question why she doesn't. Tysus says they're scared of blood, they could faint. There's the minhag is that they don't shecht. The Ramah says the minhag is that they shouldn't shecht. Hakol shoichtim shchitasin ksheira. Chutz. Now, if we just look at these words, because this is what we're going to be these words we're going to be dealing with today and tomorrow. The first four words. Hakol shoichten. Anybody could shecht. So why does it say ushchitas and ksheira? It says anybody could shecht. Ushchitas and ksheira. So hakol shoichten would mean, just pointing it out here, because we're going to be saying it over and over. Hakol shoichten means lechatchila. Lechatchila means in the first place. Anybody could shecht in the first place. There's nothing stopping anyone. Ushchitasam ksheira is after the fact. It's only kosher after the fact. In other words, we're talking about two different situations, and we have to see what they are. There's 6 ways to learn this Mishnah. Who cannot do a shchita? Chutz, mecheresh, shoita v'katan. 3 people that don't have enough das. A cheresh is someone who is a deaf mute, not just a person who's deaf. A deaf mute. Shoita is pretty much, look around this room, pretty much everybody here. Chas v'shalom, chas v'shalom. V'katan. And a young child. Shema yikalkelu. Oh, so how come these cheresh, shoita, v'katan can't do it? Shema yikalkelu is shchitasan. They're going to mess up the shchita. V'kulon she'shochatu v'acherim ro'in oisan. Oh, so this is another thing that we're going to be discussing. And I want to point it out here in the Mishnah so we see it. It says, Chutz v'cheresh shoita v'katan. Cheresh shoita cannot do the shchita. V'kulon she'shochatu. What is v'kulon? Could it go on the cheresh shoita v'katan? We just said, Chutz v'cheresh shoita v'katan. So it should say, v'im shochatu, not v'kulon. V'kulon is like everybody else besides the people that we just discussed. Chutz v'cheresh shoita v'katan. V'kulon she'shochatu v'acherim ro'in oisan. If there was a witness, one guy, one Eid Echad, because Eid Echad never be Yisurim, Shchitas and Ksheira. The Shchita is Ksheira. Okay? So we're going to have to see what this means. The entire Mishnah, it's a short Mishnah, 3 lines, but we don't have a lot of explanation here. If there's an Eid Echad, there's a witness that saw the Shchita, then it's okay. Even though it shouldn't be okay, but if he witnessed that he's watching it, Oymel al Gabav, saw the whole thing, it's good. Says the Gemara, Hakol shoichatin l'chatchila. Here, I made a little chart for you guys. The words, the 2 first words, Hakol shoichatin, means l'chatchila. What does l'chatchila mean? In the first place. I'll explain what that means. V'shchitas and ksheira means after the fact. One is green, like this is perfect, it's great, keep on going. And b'di'evet is like not the best in the world. What does that mean? There's a story that happened, a true story, Ma'aseh Shaya, where a guy, he dropped some butter into his chont. He asked the rabbi, what's the halacha? And the rabbi said, it's batal. He said, there's enough chalt that it overcomes the butter. Great. So then he went, from that day on, for the rest of his life, and he put a little butter in the chalt. What's that? That's the chatchila and b'di'evet. In other words, the chatchila means in the first place. Can I go put butter into my chalt in the first place? No. But after the fact, after it happened, and you go ask a rabbi, he'll say, okay. So ask the Gemara. Hakol shoichtim, the first two words of the Mishnah, Hakol shoichtim, seems like you could just go ahead and do it no matter what. L'chatchila. Ushchitazing sheira di'evet. As the Gemara is going to explain, why the double lashon? It should say Hakol shoichtim. What's ushchita? Once you say Hakol shoichtim, of course the shchita is kosher. Elamai, the first two words mean l'chatchila in the first place, and the second words mean b'di'evet. So what's going on here? Every time it says Hakol, it means it's in the first place. Hakol mamirim. Tmura. What's Tmura? So everybody that's in MDY for a little bit of time knows. Tmura means you have an animal that you said, I'm designating this as an oila, let's say, as a shlamim, and then I come across a much nicer animal. So it would make sense to bring the nicer animal to Hashem. So you say, this second animal should be instead of the first. That's Issa Deraisa. It's also to do, it's called Tmura. The second animal gets the same exact designation as the first. You have to treat the second one as the first. The first remains like the first. The second one remains like the first. And everything's great. It looks something like this. So that's Tmura, that's also. But it says in the Mishnah over there, Hakol Mamir. Everybody could do it. Meaning even somebody that inherits, okay, whatever the chiddush is. But the bottom line is, it seems like it's so according to what you're telling me that Hakol means in the first place, so it seems like Hakol Mamir, you could do Tmura. It means that you could do it. Voch, it says before in the Torah, you should not switch a good one with a bad one, meaning one that doesn't have a blemish with one that has a blemish. We're showing a large one, a small one. The point is, even if it's better, you still can't do it. Says the Gemara, that's not a question, because over there the Mishnah goes ahead and explains itself. Over there it says the reason it's not because it's mutter. It's because if you go ahead and you do it, you'll get malchus. In other words, the Mishnah explains already that don't say that you should do it, that it's a mitzvah to do. The opposite. If you do it, you get malchus. But by us, Hakol shoichat, it means it's in the first place. So again, a person looks at somebody else and he says, I want to give whatever you're worth in the Torah, the erechin of the Torah, to the Beis HaMikdash. So you look at this chart and you say, let's take the green column. Anybody that's between the age of 5 and 20, you go down. If he's a zachar, 20. If he's in a keva, 10. Look at somebody between the age of 20 and 60. Most of the people in this room, they're worth 50. 50. An akeva, 30. Look what happens when you turn 60 in Noirevayim. 7 years. You drop. You drop from a 50 to a 15. Wow. This is it's brutal. Okay, so, Right. Relatively, she doesn't drop that much. She doesn't drop. She drops from 30 to 10. Okay. Maybe it's the same kind of, okay, fine. So anybody could do this. I could do it to you, you could do it to me. So, Hakol Marichin, V'ne'erachim. Somebody could say, I want Eli Stefansky. Now, Eli Stefansky is on the blue column between 20 and 60, he's worth 50. Not because I'm a good slave, that's what the Torah says. The other thing is, you go by slave. How much is this guy, his true value in the market? If I were to sell him as a slave, how much is he worth? If he's nice, muscular, strong, great. If he's a shvach, there's a pot belly, the whole thing, he's a little worth less. So that's already noijim v'nidarim. That's a different thing. Okay, but it says hakol. You should do this in the first place. You should say, I want to give the Beis HaMikdash like so and so. It's not a good thing. Why? If you stop promising, then you won't have a sin. Meaning, if you do promise, you will have a sin. It's better that you shouldn't promise tzedakah than to promise and don't pay? Vitanya, it's even more than that. This is a pasuk in Genesis. Vitanya, toiv mizel mizet, shein enoyed karlikar. It's better not to make a neder at all. Divrei Meir says the Gemara. Vitanya, toiv mizel mizet, shein enoyed karlikar. Divrei Meir. Rabbi Yehuda argues, and he says, if you make a neder that you're going to give tzedakah and you pay, that's great. But the Gemara continues. Now again, there's another thing that everybody in MDY knows. What's the difference between a neder and a nedava? Nedava is dava, and that's in the zoo. So when you say zoo, you're pointing to a particular animal, and you're saying, I'm going to bring this animal as a carbon. And what if something happens to this animal? You're off the hook. But if you say Harei, then you're not off the hook. Harei means I will bring it, no matter what. So, says Rabbi Yehuda, why does Rabbi Yehuda say, if you make a neder and you pay, it's great, only when he says zu. Because then he's not, nothing can happen, nothing wrong will happen to him. Because worse comes to worse, something will happen to the animal, no. He's like Erechin, is Harei I take upon myself, what if you don't pay it? It's a bad thing, no good. Okay, so we have a problem.
Even if you pay.
Yeah. Even if you pay, but he said Harei Olai, right when he says Harei Olai, I have a problem. Paying later is not the. Says the Gemara, Dav Beis, Amud Beis. V'chol hakol lav lechatchilahu. So now you're telling, so the Gemara says, okay, so hakol is not lechatchila. Hakol is after the fact. But how could that be? It says, hakol chayovim, el hakol chayovim b'sukkah, hakol chayovim b'tzitzis. Everybody's chayav in a sukkah. Everybody's chayav in tzitzis. Hakol chayovim b'sukkah. Everybody's chayav in a sukkah, hakol chayovim b'tzitzis. Hochenami, the lav lechatchila. So now you're telling me hakol means only after the fact. What? You're not mechuyev lechatchila. You don't, in the first place, you don't have to go in a sukkah. You don't have to wear tzitzis if you have four corner garment. Says Gemara, no. Chayavim loikamin. It says hakol chayavim. Yeah, when the word hakol goes together with the word chayavim, chayav you're chayav. Then of course you're chayav in the first place. Hakol soimchin echod ha'anoshim. They take out the word anoshim because we just learned that a woman is not chayav in here smicha. What's smicha? Smicha is when you bring a carbon, you put all your body weight on the carbon's head. So everybody should do smicha, even somebody that inherits. Hachenami de lav lechatchila, voksiv, someone you live in irtza. It's a pasuk. They should do smicha. Says Gemara okay, fine. I give up. You proved to me that hakol soimcha means you should do it in the first place. We proved before that hakol shoichtim is not in the first place. So what is it? Or hakol shoichtim is in the first place, but there's other places that's not in the first place. So what is it? Sometimes hakol means in the first place, sometimes it means after the fact. So ask the Gemara, the machzah, you're making an assumption, and then you ask me questions. Don't make an assumption, don't ask questions. You made an assumption in our Mishnah that hakol shoichtim means in the first place. And then you ask me a question, but the hakol shoichtim, hakol is not lechatchila, it is. You ask me a contradiction within the first four words. Hakol shoichtim means in the first place. So then why do you say ushchitazing sheira? It means only b'diavad. No, maybe in our Mishnah hakol shoichtim means b'diavad, and then it fits right in to the words right afterwards. Hakol shoichtim only after the fact. Ushchitazing sheira after the fact. Dilma diavad lo tikshilach. Omalei, I know shchitazing sheira casually. No, because of the wording. I had a major problem with the wording. The second part of it is shchitazing sheir means that it's only after the fact. Then the first words, it can't be. We're going just back to these words, right? Hakol shoichtim v'shchitazing sheira. It can't be that shchitazing sheir means b'di'eved and hakol shoichtim means b'di'eved. Why? Because then why is the Mishnah repeating itself? Tar b'di'eved lamali. So for that, we have an answer. That what? Hakol shoichtin means one thing. Ushchitazing sheira means another thing. There's two different stories. And there's 6 different ways to learn it. We're going to learn 1 or 2 today. I was going to tell you a story, but it's going to have to wait till tomorrow. Put the story right over here. Great. Omar Rabbi Barula. Pshat number 1. Hachi katani. Hagol shoichatin va'afilu tamei bechulin. Somebody who's tamei. You become tamei by touching a dead person, by touching a dead mouse, by touching somebody who himself is an avatuma, he's tamei himself like a zav. You become tamei. A person who's tamei can perform shchita. Why? Because we're talking about Chullin. He's not in the Beis HaMikdash. He's a sheichet. Like every sheichet today is tamei. They shecht all day long, even though they're tamei. What's the problem? Says the Gemara, tamei b'Chullin ma'il lememer. So what's the chiddush? So the first words of the Mishnah, kol sheichtim, is lechatchila is talking about somebody who's tamei. But what's the chiddush there? There's no chiddush. Oh, b'Chullin shenasu al taras hakodesh. We're talking about something special. New musig in Shas, Rabbi Yisai. Chullin shenasu al taras hakodesh. What does it mean? There are people who, because they want to eat a carbon coming up, shlamim, whatever it is, they want practice. So what do to get practice? They pretend every time they shecht an animal, they pretend that it's kachim, they pretend it's a carbon. So they say everything I am makbid on Chullin, that should be like a carbon. So what's the problem? The problem is because Chullin shenasu ataras hakodesh ki kodesh dam. Typically speaking, there's a machlokes, but because you accepted upon yourself such a chumrah, sometimes when you accept upon yourself something that's mutter, right? You said this thing should be awesome for you. Why did you do it? Because you want to become Kaddish. You want to refrain from doing something that you could, but you don't. You want to give yourself extra Kedusha. That's how you give yourself a Kedusha. The Rambam says the person that does that, he becomes Kaddish like the Shechina. What does it mean? It says in the pasuk, it's Kadishtem, v'yisim Kedoshim ki Kaddish ani. Ani Hashem Elokeichem. You should become Kaddish when you give yourself, when you're Pirish from things. So he's Pirish. And he holds that when you do that, you have to treat it like kachim. Nevertheless, in other words, if you're tamei, you can't shecht something in the Beis HaMikdash when you're tamei. Carbon for sure not. So I would say that if you're tamei, you can't shecht the Chullin. You can't go to the regular shlachlis and bar pak and shlech. But you could. As long as the Gemara is going to say, as long as the knife is long. I wasn't trying to play with the words over there, it just came out like that. As long as the knife is long. Because how does he do it? Because he can't touch it. Maybe sakin aruka. He brings a long knife. Oh, sakin aruka. You stand from a distance. I'm tamei, I shech like this from a distance. So what do you do? Maybe sakin aruka. He shouldn't touch the basar. So that's the chatchila. I could go, I'm tamei, I could go. First part of the Mishnah, first two words of the Mishnah is talking about I'm tamei, but I want to shecht. So I use a long knife. L'chatchila, in the first place I could do it. In Chullin. But when it's a carbon, it's kodesh, then b'di'eved, well, I shouldn't shecht. Shema yigav b'basar, over there I have to be makbid because I might touch. V'im shachat, if I did it, and then I go ask the rabbi after the fact. I know for a fact I didn't touch. Shchitas like sheira. Chutz becheresh shoyde v'katan dafil b'chul ingredient da'avdi da'avid namiloi. Besides, that's what the Mishnah continues to say. The cheresh shoyde v'katan. Someone that doesn't have das, then they cannot. Why? Shema yishu, because maybe they will pause. They'll cut, and pause. A cheresh shoyde v'katan could do something bad. They could do something called v'shema yidrusu. Yidrusu means they'll take the knife and push down. Instead of cutting back and forth, don't worry, Eli, they push down. That's good. But what's the next one? V'shema yachlidu, chalada. So very cool. If you take a knife and you cover the knife with a scarf, and you shech the animal, that's chalada, according to one shita. But in other words, you're covering the knife. What you do here in this case, and this is according to everybody, is if you're able to put the knife in between the kan and the veshet, and then you shecht, that's chalada. Why? Because it's being covered by one of the simanim. If you're able to stick it into the neck of the animal before you do shechita, so the neck is covering the knife, and then you turn the knife and you shecht. No good. Yeah, you got it? So, hold on. What do we have here? Trachea, veshet. That's regular shechita. Wow. Beauty. That's chalada. In between, this is drisa, pushing down.
That's good, yeah?
That's bad. Bad. This is bad. You don't want to go down. You want to cut like a knife, slice. And this would be shehiyah. What's shehiyah? He's cut, and then he stopped. Oh, what? I don't know what happened over there. Okay. That didn't look like shehiyah to me. Okay, we got to talk to him about it. So, says the Gemara, V'kulon sheshochatu ahaya. So then the continuation of the Mishnah. That if people saw somebody, we said, Eid Echad, watch the whole thing. What is it talking about? By the way, get this right. We're going to do this about 6 times. These same words, these 30 words, tomorrow, over and over and over again. It says that anybody, we talk about, here, let me show you. Here we go. Chutz mecheresh shoita v'katan. And then it says a second later, v'chulan sheshachatu v'chein roinois. And if there's one person to watch, then it's okay. Is it going on the cheresh shoita v'katan? It can't be, because that's not how you write it. You write chutz mecheresh shoita v'katan v'im shachatu, not v'kulan. V'im, and if these 3 people that you just mentioned on top, that's how you should write it. V'im shachatu mebayilei ela ilei mecheresh shoita v'katan alakai. It should say v'im, not v'kulan. Elo, atame b'chulin. Maybe it's talking about the person who's tamei and he's shechting not outside of the Beis Hamikdash. He's not shechting a carbon, just regular chulin. We just established those are the first 2 words of the Mishnah that he could do this in the first place. Perhaps he's talking about somebody who's tamei and he went into the Beis Hamikdash. But you also said that if he knows that he for sure didn't touch the animal, if the shaykhid himself says it, that's good enough. So why do you need somebody to witness that he's okay? Says the Gemara, because it's talking about the lesser kamand in a shayla. He ran away. We can't reach him. So if somebody else comes along and says, I saw that it was okay, he didn't touch it, then it's good. Says the Gemara, what you tell me, our Mishnah is telling us the big chiddush of somebody who's tummy and he can't shecht in the Beis Hamikdash, but if he didn't touch, it's okay. We had this Mishnah in Zvachim, Shechita ksheira bezarim, because shechita is good by just Yisrael. Binashim, here see it says mefurish a woman could do shechita. Ube'avadim ubetmeim. It says mefurish in our Mishnah Tomei could do it. Va'afilu bekachi kedashim, even with the carbon. Ubevachli yutmeim nagim bebasa, as long as they don't touch it. So it's not in our Mishnah. It's over there in Zvachim. It says Gemara Hachi Eker. Over here we're talking about hilchas shechita. So here's the main thing. Hasamayde tana sharp sulim tana nami tomei mikdashim. Over there. It's just derech agav, just mentioned it because we're talking about other psulim, so we threw it in the tummy as well. We should remember this for tomorrow as well because we're going to bring it up again. Hasa Mikr, Zvachim is the number 1 place. The Bekachim Koy, because we're talking about Kachim and we want to say that somebody's tummy should not shecht Kachim. Zvachim is about Kachim. Hacha, the tummy bechulin. Over here, it's derech agav. We're talking about Chullin, a Tomei and Chullin, Taninami, Tomei Mikdashim. So it mentions also somebody who's Tomei Mikdashim. Rabbi Sai, have a good Voch, a wonderful day. Yishkoyach for coming. Be'ezer Hashem, we're all going to finish the Masechta together. A good Voch.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY.com.